All right, church, I got a confession to make. I've been doing a lot of soul searching. And as I've kind of made that introspective turn inward, one of the things I've realized is that I have a growing number of pet peeves. And it's not funny because they take a lot of my energy. And, energy is a kind of a limited resource, and these pet peeves are just sucking away a lot of my energy. And I was really alarmed once I started naming them. I was really kind of alarmed at just the sheer number of them. And so I'm processing through the best way to handle that. The best solution I came up with is I'll just educate all of you on what my pet peeves are so you'll stop doing them. And I think that would be the best thing for the world. So to help you out, I've broken my pet peeves down into three primary categories: the bathroom, the kitchen, and parking lots. We'll begin with the bathroom. Pet peeve number one, this is not okay. This right here is totally unacceptable. This is not how this device was designed to be used. So as I've come to learn, every relationship needs, a sane person to go behind her each night and fix this problem. Facts. Pet peeve number two in the bathroom is this nonsense. This is not okay. I don't understand. If you use the last of the toilet paper, you need to replace the roll. That's just the way it works. That's like being a decent human being. I'm really concerned about the people's souls who don't do this. Now, if you're one of those people going, oh yeah, but look, there's a little left. What is wrong with you? You're like my kids. I go in the kids' bathroom. This is what's always there. They'll go a week with that little tiny bit hanging on there saying there's some left. What that tells me is nobody in my house is wiping. That's a problem. All right, and this pet peeve, let's just solve this once and for all, guys. It's over the top. Over the top. Okay? Done. Settled. This is the patent for the toilet paper roll from September 15th, 1891. We've got three clearly illustrated figures here, figure 1, 2, and 3, all showing it going over the top as we know it should work and should be. Now, I will concede the only argument I've ever heard for going underneath is for you cat owners who say that the cats, they knock the toilet paper down, okay? So that's just one more reason to get rid of your cat and put your toilet paper on appropriately. Moving on to the kitchen. Pet peeve number one in the kitchen is this nonsense. And what is this? Why are we refrigerating empty plastic jugs? I don't understand. Okay, if you finish the milk, crush the thing, put it away. Don't put it back in the refrigerator. And don't tell me there's a little tiny baby bit left down there in the bottom. That is totally unacceptable. Then there's this, okay? I am not okay with this right here. It's a cereal box, and the way it works is you open it so that you can take this tab and insert it right here where it says to close. Insert tab here. You can't do that anymore because the box has been mangled, and I don't know why. Maybe they wanted some Fruity Pebbles, and all there were Grape Nuts O's, and you were so mad at the box, you destroyed it, but this is unacceptable. Now, this is also a pet peeve. Look at this one. This is not okay. Once you see it, you can't unsee it, people. This bag has been opened on the bottom. These chips are no longer edible and must be thrown out immediately. This is not okay. And then we have this. I don't understand. Okay, this balancing act right here, I'm convinced my kids are playing kitchen trash Jenga. It takes way more effort and time to do that than it would be just to take the trash out. Moving on to the parking lot. Can we all agree this is not okay? Everybody in agreement? It's not okay. Yet you people still do it. I don't know why. Hey, look, it's a parking spot. There is clearly defined by the lines. The boundaries are there. Why not just go in the boundaries and be where you're supposed to be, not on the line, not over the line, which also, while you're driving in the parking lot, if there's an arrow on the parking lot, go in the direction of the arrow. Don't come against that, all right? Pay attention. Those are there to help you know which direction to go. If there's two lanes, don't drive down the middle. Stay in your lane, people. Okay, you're causing all kinds of parking lot issues. Here's another problem in the parking lot. Okay. Everybody says, oh yeah. And yet there are evil people, evil forces at work in the world. And I share this with you because I am legitimately concerned for your soul. If you can take a cart this far You are able-bodied enough to put it where it belongs. Do not leave it in the parking spot ever. This is not okay. And then one more, and this is a bit controversial, but I feel very passionate about this. Stop backing into parking spots. Stop it. Knock it off. Every time you do it, I'm like, well, you think you're better than me? You're going to back into the spot? Your time's more valuable to me. You're thinking, no, it saves time. No, it doesn't save time, because this is science, just simple spatial dynamics here. Okay, backing into a parking spot takes a lot longer than it does to back out of a parking spot, because the parking spot is a limited, narrow space. It's small. Parking into the lot, backing out into the lot, that's a lot bigger space. It goes faster. The other thing, too, is I'm behind you when you drive by, and I'm like, sweet, they missed the spot. I'm going to get it. And then all of a sudden, your reverse lights come on. Now, not only am I disappointed, but now you're backing up at me. Now I've got to back up. There's somebody behind me. There's a whole parking lot issue that's happening now. And I'm like, back up, we got a moron. Okay, with fancy backup camera trying to use it. And some of you right now are like, yeah, but you don't understand, Bo, I drive a truck. I drive a truck too. Pull into the spot, back out. Life will be much better for all of us. Those are my pet peeves. Can you all please work on being less irritating? That would really help me out a lot. Here's what I realized. Pet peeves are really just a symptom of being irritable, and our irritability is really just a symptom of our being tired. And we do live in an irritable world, and we increasingly become more and more irritated with one another. And in that, God has a great solution for us, and it's called rest. And rest is this beautiful gift of God that we need, and he knows we need it, and he wants to give us rest. Rest is a glorious, wonderful command from God. And so we're going to do a message series on rest called Rest, where we look at how God intends for us to find our rest in him and to celebrate rest and understand that rest is a command, that rest is not a sin. Actually, it's a blessing and a command from God. In Matthew chapter 11, verse 28, Jesus says these words. It's our memory verse. So we're going to put it on the screens. And online, Concord, Manchester, we're all going to read this out loud together. These are wonderful words, so put a smile on your face, because this is a gift from God. Jesus says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Let's read that one more time together. "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Jesus says, hey, all you guys who are irritated, all you guys who are frustrated, all you guys who are worn out and angry, and all you guys who are anxious and worried, basically all of us. He says, come to me. And what does he say he'll give us? Rest. Because rest is a gift from God, but it's also a command from God. Now, sometimes when we hear that rest is a command, or here's a command from God, we go, all right, fine, I'm going to get on it. I'm going to start working hard at resting. Oh, this has been tried before, by the way. We'll get to the Sabbath in a few moments, but in Jesus' day, the religious leaders were so hung up on the Sabbath that they were actually working harder to not work and keep the Sabbath, and it would have been just to work. And that can become a problem. And Jesus, what we find is rest. He says, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and you will find rest, because what Jesus has done is he has completed the law for us. He didn't abolish the law. He didn't do away with the law. He's completed it for us, so we find our rest in him. He has done the work, and we find our rest in him. And so what we need to understand is this idea of rest is a gift from God, because regular rhythms of rest are required in order to follow God. We need regular rhythms of rest. They're required as a part of who we are in order to follow God. So it matters. If we want to really follow Jesus and be a part of what he is doing, then we understand rest is a command. And in order to follow him, we need these regular patterns of rest. I love the 23rd Psalm. Psalm 23, verse 1 says, "The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake." And so when we think about, all right, this life that we're living, when the Lord is my shepherd, I love what the 23rd Psalm says there. It says, I lack nothing. I lack nothing. Or other translations say, I shall not be in want. I would propose to you that one of the primary reasons we don't rest, that we abandon the rest that God has for us, is because we've gotten out in front of Jesus. He's not our shepherd anymore. Instead of Jesus being our Lord, we've gotten out in front and we've said, hey, Jesus, come follow me. And one of the symptoms of that is we find ourselves in a steady state of want. I want this, I want that, I want more of this. I would just propose to you that if you find yourself in a steady state of want, you probably don't have a provision problem. Most likely what you have is a shepherding problem. We've gotten out in front. It's not so much that I need a provision, it's I want this, but we never even stop to ask, Jesus, do you want me to have this? And if you do, will you provide it? Because when the Lord is my shepherd, I shall lack nothing. I will follow him and he will take care of me because he is a good shepherd. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He makes us because we won't do it on our own. He makes us lie down. He's like, hey, you need to rest right now. You need some rest. Here's a green pasture, some nice green grass, a comfortable place to lie and look up at the sky and breathe deeply for a little bit and feel the cool breeze. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He does it because he knows we need it. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. For the sake of his name and his kingdom and his mission and his work, and regular patterns of rest are required to follow Jesus. If he's my shepherd, I will be resting. I will be laying down in green pastures and beside quiet waters. He'll be refreshing my soul. Then I'm going to walk along these paths following my shepherd, not out in front of him, and rest is a regular part of that. Now here's why it matters. In order to effectively follow Jesus and for his namesake and for his kingdom is because this name of Jesus is the name by which all people can be saved. And we are carriers of that name, and we are participants in that mission, and we're in the family business, adopted sons and daughters. And so as we follow our good shepherd, when we rest in him and we participate in the regular patterns of rest and rhythms of rest that we're created for, then we become more useful and more effective in sharing God's love with our ones. So we pray for one. God, please give me one person to share your love with. It's a great prayer. God, please give me one person to share your love with. All of us, online, Manch, Concord, let's all pray this out loud together. God, please give me one person to share your love with. Now, we can pray that all day long, but if we are not following Jesus as our shepherd, and if we're not rested in him, then we will not participate in the opportunities that we have to share his love. We won't recognize them. We won't see them. We'll be too stressed out, burned out, irritated, frustrated, worried, anxious, because we're not rested in him. We're not in the regular healthy pattern and rhythm of rest that he has for us. And so here's some symptoms of being out of rhythm. We get out of rhythm, and this is how you can tell. You become angry. You become grouchy and ouchy. And then you end up being whiny. And then after whiny, you got pouty. And then this one, being just busy, which we'll deal with busy throughout the series. And just so you understand, busy is such an important thing to take a look at in your life because this is a big time idol in our world today. We equate busyness with being important. The busier I am, the more people are relying on me, or the more important I am. It's almost like even a competition. But busyness is not next to godliness, and really our busyness, particularly if we're out in front of Jesus and not laying down on those green pastures, not walking beside the quiet waters, not having our souls refreshed, will prevent us from being in rhythm with him. And so here's how it kind of goes down. You find yourself, well, I'm angry, I'm irritable, and so I'm grouchy, that's that expression of that towards people. They're off-putting. It's really hard to share God's love when you're grouchy with people. And then I'm ouchy. I'm always offended. It's really, I will just say it's like impossible to share God's love when you're always in that offended state where your feelings are always hurt and I'm always offended and everybody's against me. And then you get whiny. Everybody's against me and the world's against me and it's such a terrible place and blah, blah, blah. And then you get pouty, and then because what you do then is you're like, well, fine, right? Everybody's jerk and they're awful and they're all against me, so I'm not even going to try anymore. And then you get busy with your own agenda and your own stuff. And we live in this kind of world that is angry, grouchy, ouchy, whiny, and pouty and busy. And there is a solution for this. God has a great solution. You ready for it? It's called a nap. Because we're like toddlers, right? This looks like a toddler right here, angry, grouchy, ouchy, whiny, pouty, and busy. And sometimes a toddler needs a nap. I remember my kids, I'm like, whoa, okay, here are these things. This is you right now. All right, kid, you need a nap. And what does every kid say when you tell them they need a nap? No, I don't. So when I look at you and I'm like, oh, you need a nap. No, I don't need a nap. I don't need a nap. Can't believe he said that about backing into parking spots. What a jerk. I always knew I hated him. Can't stand him. He's picking on me. He saw me do it one time. It's like everybody picks on me. My wife picks on me. Everybody picks on me. Fine, I'm leaving this church. Bye. You need a nap. Go lie beside some on the green pasture. Buy some quiet water. Have your soul refreshed. We need a nap. Here's some ways to know you might need a nap. All right? If you find yourself throwing a golf club, TV remote, cell phone, plate of food, or any type of personal toiletry item, you might need a nap. If you find yourself yelling at a TV screen because some grown man did not successfully complete a series of athletic moves to your satisfaction, you might need a nap. If you find yourself at the front of a grocery store working out complex mathematical equations in your head to determine which checkout line will move the fastest while simultaneously calculating the total items in each cart and judging the probability of which shoppers will write a check based on factors of age, clothing, and choice of shoes, you might need a nap. If you find yourself laying on your car horn because someone's foot movement from brake to accelerator did not approach the speed of sound and you're convinced that the minivan in front of you is secretly working in cahoots with the Taliban to destroy your quality of life, you might need a nap. If you find yourself punching a wall, pounding a steering wheel, kicking a child's toy, slamming a door, yelling at a dog, or fantasizing about a neighbor or coworker's imminent demise and impending doom, you might need a nap. And a lot of us need a good nap, but we need regular patterns of rest so that we don't end up in those places where we become ineffective in our relationship with Jesus and what he's called us to do. When the Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He will give me rest. Come to me, he says, all you are weary and burdened, I will give you rest. And so when it comes to rhythms of rest, we'll look at these. We need daily rest. We require it. Our bodies are designed to have daily rest every single day. Lamentations chapter 3, verse 22. It says, because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. I say to myself, the Lord is my portion, therefore I will wait for him. In that passage of scripture there, we see, okay, God's compassions never fail. He is faithful to us. They are new every morning. When we rise in the morning, it is a new day, a new beginning. We are to rise refreshed, renewed, with a sense of, okay, God, what do you have for me today? And so we know that we need rest every single day. So everyday rest looks like this. Sleep. We need sleep every single day. Now, there are different patterns of sleep, and yet we all require it. The body needs it to function. So generally speaking, when we talk about sleep, the recommended amount that we talk about is 8 hours, but know that everyone's different. There was a period in my life where 8 hours just didn't seem like what I needed, and so I was more a 5.5 hour guy. In fact, I used to get up at 4:30 every morning. I don't anymore because I got old. And things change when you get old. My life circumstances changed. My kids got older. So I used to get up at 4:30 so I could be up for a couple of hours before they had to get up. But now my kids can, rip open a cereal box and leave an empty milk jug in the fridge on their own. They don't need me to do that for them. And so I can reallocate some of that time. So what I found is I needed more rest. But I didn't know that because I was like, I'm a 4:30 guy. So instead of seeking God as my shepherd and saying, God, what kind of rest do you want me to have? And really asking him about that, I was still setting alarms at 4:30 and getting up because I'm a 4:30 guy. And that really became part of my identity, which was really some idolatry on my part. And it took a while for me to go, wait a minute, I need more rest. I was tired. I would be more tired in the afternoons, which made me less effective in the things that God was calling me to do. And I got in an argument with him. I'm like, God, I'm a 4:30 guy. I've said that. Like, people know that about me. He's like, you're a moron, man. Sleep a little bit. It's okay. And then I will tell you, as you get older, like, this is now my 10th winter in New England. Yeah, whoa. I'm thinking about becoming a bear and just hibernating because That would be the best solution I know of to live here. But that rest is important. We need sleep. Cool thing, this is kind of interesting too, patterns of sleep. So maybe you're 8, maybe you're 9 hours, maybe you're 7, whatever. But you find that and ask God, talk to him. And what you need is what you need. So get the rest that you need. There's also historically this thing called second sleep, which are our biorhythms and just kind of the way we experience sleep. Pre-electricity is a little bit different than we do now. And so some of you will understand this. You know how you wake up in the middle of the night because you have to pee? All right. Everyone over 40. And so there's sometimes some anxiety in you, like, well, I get back to sleep and oh no, what's going to happen? Do I get out of bed or do I lay here miserable? This thing called second sleep is just kind of referred to casually in like letters and historical documents and things like that. Because before there was electricity, people weren't necessarily burning candles and, all night and lamps and things like that. It was kind of expensive. And so it would get dark, and when it would get dark, you'd get bored, so you'd be like, I'm gonna go to sleep. So you go to sleep, and then in the middle of the night, you'd wake up, because you need to pee, so you go pee, and then you're awake. And so what do? Most people would just stay up for an hour. And there'd be like an hour break in the middle of the night where some people would get a snack, some people would sit around in the living room and have a conversation. They made a lot of babies, things like that. This was kind of the common thing that would happen then. And then after about an hour, they would still have like 3 hours before the sun would rise, so they'd just go back to sleep. And you have second sleep. So try it, is all I'm saying to you. It's pretty cool. If you wake up in the middle of the night, get up for an hour, maybe read, pray, spend some time with Jesus, seeking him, just enjoy that time, and then I'm gonna go back to sleep for a couple hours. And it's kind of a cool way to do that. But find your rhythm. You need it every day. We also need breaks every day. And so we need work breaks, coffee breaks, lunch breaks. We need breaks from the constant bombardment of information. I mean, this is pretty wild. And so one of the things that I would just recommend as a thing to try is put your phone away every time you eat. When you eat, don't look at your phone. Turn off the TV, turn off any media during that time. And whether it's 15 minutes, 30 minutes, that break will help you kind of navigate that. We need mental breaks, prayer breaks. We just need some breaks in the action. And then every day, we also need to find some time for fun, to enjoy life. Fun would be the next one, thanks. And what we'll do, we'll do a whole sermon on recreation, recreating life and the rhythms of experiencing that. And unpacking that a little bit, because that's something we don't talk about a lot in church, but we do need some fun. So we require daily rest. We also require weekly rest. So we look at these patterns, it's not just daily, but we require weekly rest. So we have the Sabbath. And Sabbath is a gift from God, a day off from work. This is a rhythm that he has for us. And so we are created in the image of God, and one of the things that we learn about God is that he values rest. Genesis chapter 2, verse 2. By the seventh day, God had finished the work he had been doing. So on the seventh day, he rested from all his work. Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating that he had done. So God worked 6 days. On the seventh day, he rested. So God values rest. God rested. We're created in the image of God, and then God commands us to rest. It's one of the 10 commandments, by the way. So we shouldn't ignore this. This is important. It was important enough to be included in the 10. Exodus chapter 20, verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you nor your son or daughter, nor your male or female servant, nor your animals, nor any foreigner residing in your towns. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in them, but he rested on the seventh day. Therefore, the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. The principle here in this command is rest, weekly rest, a break from work. Now, in our human flesh, we will take this and we will make it complicated and we'll create rules, and you end up with the 30-something categories of work that are forbidden, plus every activity under that. And just like the Pharisees, the legal experts of Jesus' day, we'll take rest and make it work. Don't do that. Rest in Jesus. So the principle here is weekly rest from work. What does that look like for you? Well, for some of you who, your work requires emails and phone calls and constant connectivity, you need a day that says, no, this day is not for that. I'm not going to open that email today. I'm not going to tie up my mind in working through those issues. I'm going to have a day off that is a day of rest because this is what God has for me. It's a command and a gift. And then Jesus dealt with the Sabbath because he was accused of breaking it. In Mark chapter 2, verse 27, Jesus said to them, "The Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. So the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath." So really what we find in Jesus is our Sabbath rest. That's why we come to him, because he says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." So we come to him for our rest, and we understand that rest, Sabbath rest, is a gift from God for people. That we're not somehow trying to earn God's favor by keeping the Sabbath. Rather, God is showing his favor to us by giving us the Sabbath. And it's really kind of sad if we reject what God has for us. And so weekly rest, making that a regular part of our rhythms and holding to that is a way of not only honoring God, but being in the best possible place with him as our shepherd so that we can participate in the work that he has for us, because work is great. We also require seasonal rest. So there's this idea of seasonal rest where God actually initiated this. So you're aware that we have seasonal holidays. So in the winter, we have Christmas. So we celebrate Christmas, not necessarily because we know that Jesus was born on December 25th, but we need a great winter holiday, and celebrating his birth is a great thing to do in the winter. And so boom, here we go. In the springtime, we have spring break, but, as a church, we celebrate Easter. In the summertime, in the United States, we have the 4th of July. And then in the fall, we have Thanksgiving and Halloween. And, even as a church, we do this. We have our fall festivals coming up in Manchester, Bedford, Concord. Online, you guys, it's always a fall festival, so enjoy that. But here, we have our fall festival, so we want you guys to be sharing that with people because, we value this because we know that's a part of our design. In Exodus chapter 23, God gives them the command for seasonal rest. Verse 14, it says, 3 times a year you are to celebrate a festival to me. Celebrate the festival of unleavened bread. For 7 days eat bread made without yeast, as I commanded you. Do this at the appointed time in the month of Aviv, for in that month you came out of Egypt. No one is to appear before me empty-handed. Celebrate the festival of harvest with the first fruit of your crops that you sow in your field, and celebrate the festival of ingathering at the end of the year when you gather your crops from your field. So these 3 festivals that are listed here are actually in line seasonally with their work, and they're spread out throughout the year, because what God's saying is you need a break from work. You need a change of pace, a break in the action, a time to not work and connect with your families and with one another, and most of all, with him, to honor him. So when Jesus was here, we know that he participated in these festivals. This was it was important to him in his brief time here on earth. You want to talk about somebody, if anybody could have been busy, he kind of had an important job. Saving the world, yeah, a little more important than, making widgets. This is a big deal. And yet he took time to rest. He took time to participate in these festivals and these seasonal rests. And so when it comes to that, I would encourage you to enjoy that. Sometimes I think people kind of feel guilty or feel like it's unimportant, or you can even write it off and say God doesn't care. No, these times of seasonal rests are really important, so enjoy them, be committed to them, and have that kind of rhythm of rest. And then there's also extended rest. We require some extended rest. There's something interesting about 7 years. Have you ever heard the term 7-year itch? I don't know if you've ever heard that before, but it's really a real thing. Like we notice it in jobs a lot of times. So as an employer, we have staff, and I'm responsible for helping oversee that staff. There is something about the 7th year where if there's not some dedicated rest and some time for reflection and things like that, you get this 7-year itch where people are going to find a change or they're going to self-destruct one way or the other. We know that in the church. So we're fortunate, that we have these kind of biblical commands and mandates for 7 years, that we give our staff a sabbatical after 7 years. So we tell, here's a month. We don't want you to work for this month. We want you to rest. We want you to have a different rhythm and pattern of life for this month, where you're praying and seeking God, connecting with your family, really asking God what's next as you evaluate that. And it's powerful, it's impactful. because there's something about that seventh year. We see it in relationships like friendships, somewhere around the 7-year mark. If that friendship isn't kind of redefined and re-looked at and it's just the same as it always was, there will start to be a distance in that. We see it in relationships with marriages, which, by the way, I wouldn't encourage a sabbatical from your marriage. We were on a break. No, not a good plan. But you should be aware of that those 7-year marks are kind of significant so that you know that, okay, wait a minute, we should be aware of that. We should be talking and communicating. That's why so many marriages around the 21st year, you see that's another break where people start, maybe saying, well, we don't love each other anymore. We've grown apart, the empty nest, the kids are gone. There's these rhythms there where if you're not aware of that and seeking God as your shepherd, you can really miss out on God's blessing and what he's doing by being aware of that. And it's certainly true for work. In Exodus chapter 23, verse 10, God says, for 6 years you're to sow your fields and harvest your crops. But during the 7th year, let the land lie unplowed and unused. Then the poor among your people may get food from it, and the wild animals may eat what is left. Do the same with your vineyard and your olive grove. So what God is doing there is, this is just a great kind of farming principle, but he's essentially saying you got to let the land rest. And just like the land is created, we need rest, and we need these extended periods of rest. And so to be aware of that. Now, for some of you, that may seem like completely foreign, but I know that there's some right now that just went, ooh, I really need to pay attention to that. Like maybe you're somebody who you've got all that vacation time that you've saved up, and it's so much you can't carry it over anymore. And sometimes people even be like, well, I've got 4 months vacation that I've unused. That's probably not a good plan. That vacation there is for a reason. That's the other thing too. Sometimes we think on vacation, well, I got to spend money and go somewhere. No, you don't. Just rest. Have a break. Have an extended break. And if possible, to have, a month, some time to really decompress, to seek God. What are you doing? If you have the opportunity to do that, do it. God, and then also as you follow him, seek him in that and see if he's not showing some ways for that to happen, and really process and pray through that, because we require some extended rest in our lives. We're designed that way. Now, ultimately, all this comes down to Jesus being our rest. He's our Sabbath rest. He's our extended rest. He's our seasonal rest. He is our daily rest. And so we seek him. And so even right now, if you're like, oh, I got to work hard at resting, and your fists are already like this, and you're thinking, all right, I'm going to try better. Why don't you do this, everybody? Open up your hands and just set them on your lap. Everybody online, Concord, Manchester, but seriously, just open up your hands, set them on your lap. Now just close your eyes and take a deep breath in their nose, out your mouth. Now just be still with your eyes closed and your hands open. And ask Jesus to give you his rest. Ask him to give you his rest. Say, God, give me your rest. And as you sit there with your hands open and your eyes closed, breathe deeply in him, in a green pasture beside quiet waters, and let him refresh and restore your soul. Our aisle host will come and pass the communion trays. And all you who are weary and burdened, all you who are worn out and irritated and agitated, frustrated and stressed and anxious, with open hands, receive his rest. He has done this work for you. His body was put on a cross and received our sin inside of him. And his blood was shed to offer us a new covenant. Take the bread, take the juice, hold on to that until we've all been served. And then together as a family, we'll share in his rest. Spend this time with him right now, resting in him and the work he's done.